Namo Bodhgaya. My best greetings to all venerable teachers and organizers of the Mahabodhi Society of India and United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, and to all those who are dedicating their lives to the Blessed One, the Buddha's way of life, practice, realization, and teaching. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ dhammāṃ saṅghāṃ namasami. So today we'll be speaking on Vinaya, āPATTI, IKAMMAVIDHI, and āPATTIDESANA, teachings on caring for Vinaya transgressions in the canonical Pali-text Buddhist monastic discipline, confession, acknowledgement, settlement, and restitution. We'll be using these resources, Bhikkhunī Pātimokkha 4th edition, which you can find online at tiny URL, BI for Bhikkhunī, Pat for Pātimokkha, 4 for 4th edition, ITBOB, International Theravada Bhikkhuni Ordination Bodhgaya, Dana, also suttacentral.net and tipitaka.org. This is Bhikkhunī Pātimokkha 4th edition. We'll be looking at it now. So first, I'd like to recognize that I've been invited to speak for an hour, and this topic could actually be an hour for every day for an entire week. And so we've got quite a bit to cover here. āPATTI means what are offenses, the 6 reasons for āPATTI in the Buddha's Dhamma Vinaya and the Vinaya teachings. 1, lack of shame. 2, ignorance of the rule or precept. 3, in doubt but goes ahead. 4, she thinks she should when she shouldn't. 5, thinks she shouldn't when she should. 6, she acts without thinking, that is absent-mindedly. This comes from the Vinaya Pitaka Parivara. So of the kinds of āPATTI, there are 2 general categories. 1, those that cannot be remedied, that is parājika, full commission of parājika. And 2, those that can be remedied. Those that can be remedied, there are offenses confessed to a Sangha, that is Saṅghadisesa, offenses confessed to another Bhikkhuni, or for a bhikkhu, to another bhikkhu. These are the tulacaya, grave offenses, nisaggiya pacittiya, offenses of expiation with forfeiture. The article in question is forfeited to another bhikkhuni or to a Sangha. Pacittiya, offenses of expiation. ĀPATTIDESANIya, offenses to be acknowledged. And dukkhata, offenses of wrongdoing. And dubhasita, offenses of wrong speech. Of those that can be remedied, offenses confessed to a Sangha, Saṅghadisesa. Well, we just read over this. So we're going now into suttacentral.net. And on the left, we see the Sutta Pitaka, the basket of discourses. On the right, the Abhidhamma Pitaka, the basket of systematic treatises. And we're going right for the center, Vinaya Pitaka, basket of monastic law. Let's enter now. Looking at the monastic law of the Theravada school, Theravada Vinaya Pitaka. And we're going to look at the Vibhanga, the Bhikkhuni Vibhanga. So again, of these kinds of āPATTI, the first type, those that cannot be remedied, parājika. We'll enter now in suttacentral.net. This is called expulsion. We're going to Bhikkhu Parājika 3. This is also Bhikkhuni's Parajika 3. Here, actually, we've entered into the Bhikkhunis. And this is the Manusa Vigaha, Sikkhapada, Parajika. And it's called murder here. We'll be looking at the English translation by Venerable Bhikkhu Pramali. The training rule on murder. Now, because we're in the Bhikkhuni Vibhanga here, and this is a sadharana, a shared precept, we don't find it in the Bhikkhuni Vibhanga. It's identical for both the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, so we have to go over to the Bhikkhu Vibhanga. Here we go. We're now in the Bhikkhu Vibhanga and entering in there. And this is called the Tatiya Parajika Sikkhapada. That's the third Parajika, the training rule on expulsion. We get the origin story here. And then if a monk intentionally kills a human being or seeks an instrument of death for him or praises death or incites someone to die, saying, "My friend, what's the point of this miserable and difficult life? Death is better for you than life." Thinking and intending thus, if he praises death in many ways or incites someone to die, he or she too is expelled and excluded from the community. And we come to definitions here, the definition of a bhikkhu, and also likewise the bhikkhunis. And what does it mean to be expelled? What is parajika? Says, just as an ordinary stone that has been broken in half cannot be put back together again, so too is a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni who has intentionally killed a human being, not an ascetic, not a Shakyan monastic. Therefore it said, he or she are expelled. Tena uchati parajika hoti. And excluded from the community is asangwasa. Bhikkhunis are asangwaso ti for the bhikkhus. So sangwasa is being translated as community, and then to be able to join in ekakammaṃ, to be able to join in Sangha karmas together with the Bhikkhu Sangha, or with the Bhikkhuni Sangha, that's joint legal procedures. One is not able to do that anymore if one comes to be parajika. And then the joint recitation, the recitation of the Pātimokkha and the shared discipline, samma sikkata, then one loses all of that. The same training is lost. So having these all the same together, this is what is called sangwasa, shared recitation of the Pātimokkha, able to join in Sangha karmas together, and having the shared training together. So, sangwaso nama ekakammaṃ ek udeso sammasikata eso sangwaso nama. So, intentionality is very important here. And knowing, perceiving, having intended, having decided he or she transgresses, this is essential in this precept, as we'll see. Non-offenses here, there is no offense if it is unintentional. We go to the case studies here, the Vinitavatu. And on one occasion, a certain monk was sick. Out of compassion, the monks praised death to him, and he died. They became anxious and said, "The Buddha has laid down a training rule. Could it be that we've committed an offense entailing expulsion?" Parajika, they told the Buddha, and indeed, it was a parajika. Go further into the case studies. On one occasion, a monk, a bhikkhu, sent a second monk, bhikkhu, to the wilderness inhabited by predatory animals, aiming to kill him. In the case that the predatory animals did kill him, it would be parajika. However, the predatory animals did not kill him. Then that monk, the first bhikkhu, became anxious and inquired. He was told there's no offense entailing parajika. It's not a parajika offense, anapati bhikkhu parajikasa, but there's a serious offense, apati tulachaya, tulachayasati. So this is a grave and serious offense, but it's one that can be remedied. That's because although there was intention and effort, the result was not there. So there's no offense entailing expulsion, but there's a serious offense, tulachaya. So this is in the second category of offenses that a bhikkhu can confess to another bhikkhu, or a bhikkhuni can confess to another bhikkhuni. So now we're looking at another of the parajikas. This is the adinadana parajika. And here there's some merchandise or goods. Something is on the ground. The goods have been placed on the ground. If intending to steal, he or she, a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, thinks, I'll steal the goods on the ground, and he or she either searches for a companion or goes there, he or she commits an offense of wrong conduct. This is a dukkata. Even though there was an intention, just in searching for a companion and going there, already there's an offense. It gets worse if he or she then touches those goods. It's now another dukkata. If he or she, that bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, makes those goods move, makes them stir, then it becomes a serious offense, tulachaya. If moving them from their base, then he or she commits an offense entailing expulsion, āPATTI-PAT. So we saw an example here of much lesser offense called an offense of wrongdoing, of dukkata, for just beginning to act on that thought of doing something which is a parajika, but it is able to be remedied. So now we go to Bhikkhuni's parajika, the attavatuka, 8 factors, entering in here to Venerable Bhikkhu Brahmali's translation again on Sutta Central. The training rule having 8 parts, the attavatuka sikkhapada. So here, under the definitions, we find the definition of a bhikkhuni. She's a bhikkhuni because she lives on alms, because she's gone over to living on alms, because she wears patchwork cloth. And then we go down to what's highlighted here. A bhikkhuni who has been given full ordination in unanimity by both sanghas through a legal procedure consisting of 1 motion and 3 announcements that is irreversible and fit to stand. This is what is meant in this case. Samagena, upato sankhena, that's the dual sangha, nyati chatutena, kamena, akupena, tanarahena, upasampanati, bhikkhuni. So then also we have the definition that's essential here, that is that she be lusting, avasutanama, having lust, longing for, in love with, and he be lusting as well, avasutonama, having lust, longing, in love for, in love with. And he is a man in this case, different than another parajika that's shared with the bhikkhus. In this case, this must be a human male, not a male spirit, not a male ghost, and not a male animal. In another parajika, even if it's an animal, then that's the parajika. Also, he needs to be cognizant. He understands vinyupatibalo and is capable of making physical contact. So this is not a mobile phone call or at a distance on social media. This is someone who one can come, a male person that a bhikkhuni can come into physical contact with. And then consents to holding her hand. The hand is from the elbow to the tip of the nails. It says, if for the purpose of indulging in inappropriate sexual conduct, this is the intention, this is the purpose here, not any other intention or any other purpose, she consents. And consent here is very important. Consent here is sadhyati. And so her consent to him holding her above the collarbone and below the knees, she commits a serious offense. That's a tulachaya, āpatti-tulachayasa. Each one of these 8 points that's here is a tulachaya. There's another precept for bhikkhunis that's talking about what is below the collarbone and above the knees, different area of the body. That's a different precept. This is talking about outside of that area for the purpose of indulging in inappropriate sexual conduct. This is a very serious and grave offense, tulachaya, but it can be recovered. Still, we shouldn't think, okay, that's all right to do. The reason that this is here is to warn away from this conduct, to prevent this conduct, which can very easily become the conduct that would just immediately end one's bhikkhunihood. So this is the tulachaya offense, which is able to be confessed. So when he enters within arm's reach, if she has such intent, that is for the purpose of indulging in inappropriate sexual conduct, and she consents to his drawing near within arm's reach, she commits a tulachaya, āpatti-tulachaya. This is very important prevention. So here we've looked at the tulachaya, grave offenses, which often come in under parajika, where the parajika is not completely fulfilled. So their bhikkhuhood or their bhikkhunihood is not ended and they are able to recover themselves. But these all point to things that we should absolutely do everything that we can to avoid, to prevent this danger to oneself and others and to the Sangha. So there are non-offense clauses here. There's no offense if it's unintentional, if she's not mindful, that is, she doesn't have sati, if she does not know, and if she does not consent. Also, if she has been overwhelmed by pain. So let's go now to offenses that can be confessed to a Sangha. Saṅghādisesa. These are all also within the Garudhamma category, that is grave and very serious or heavy, weighty offenses. So we're going into the Bhikkhuni Vibhanga now, and Sutta Central in the Saṅghādisesa category, which is named here in English suspension. So here the 13th offense entailing suspension is finished. And we're going to look below that in our Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha. This is at the end of the recitation of the Saṅghādisesa offenses. Recited venerables are the 17 Saṅghādisesas, 9 being offenses at once and 8 after the third admonition. If a bhikkhuni has committed one or another of these offenses, she must spend half a month on penance before both sanghas. When the bhikkhuni has completed the penance, that is, she's been suspended and put on probation, then she's to be reinstated by a bhikkhuni sangha of 20. 20 is also called a MAHA sangha. If a bhikkhuni sangha of 1 less than 20 should reinstate that bhikkhuni is not reinstated, and those bhikkhunis are censurable. This is the proper course here. So obviously this is something that's not so easy to do. It's not just confessing to one bhikkhuni or to a sangha of just 5 or even 10, as is normally required in the Majjadesha, like Bodhgaya, but 20. So to be avoided, this is for prevention. And it's not just the Bhikkhuni Sangha that's needed, but the Ubato Sangha is needed. That's both the Bhikkhu and the Bhikkhuni Sangha. When this is completed, she's to be rehabilitated wherever there is a Sangha of at least 20 Bhikkhunis. If that Bhikkhuni is rehabilitated by a Sangha of Bhikkhunis one less than 20, she is not rehabilitated. She cannot be reinstated to her full unsuspended status as a Bhikkhuni. And those Bhikkhunis are at fault. This is the proper course here. So now we go to the Nisagya Pachitya offenses. So offenses of expiation with forfeiture, which means the article in question is to be given up or forfeited to another Bhikkhuni or to the Sangha and then confessed. So when a Nisagya Pachitya is to be confessed, the article in question is first forfeited to another Bhikkhuni, to a Gana, as a group of 2 or 3 Bhikkhunis, or to a Sangha of Bhikkhunis. Only the formula for confessing to an individual Bhikkhuni is given here in the Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha 4th edition, except for Nisagya Pachitya 21, 22, and 24, which must be confessed to a Sangha. So we can see this is also something more serious. And then Pachitya, offenses of expiation or for confession. Then here this has been translated as light offenses. Before the Pātimokkha, each Bhikkhuni confesses to another Bhikkhuni all offenses that she remembers. And that she remembers is important here. We'll come back to this. The Bhikkhunis should arrange their robes over their shoulders. The junior should bow to the senior, and then they may recite Namo Tassa Bhagavato 3 times together before beginning the confession. The confession formula may vary slightly from tradition to tradition. The following here in Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha 4th edition is what we find in the Canonical Vinaya text, in the Kandakas, in the Mahavagga Kandaka. You have an image here of whether Thai or Lao or Cambodian bhikkhus confessing to one another. And then this is an image of it's not actually an image of the Sri Lankan posture for confession, but it's the closest picture that I could find, which is one knee up and one knee down, and then the hands raised in Anjali in the prayer posture together. And this is traditional polite posture, and this is a casual version of this. We see this from antiquity in India. This image here in the center is of 2 bhikkhunis. It's from 9th or 10th century Nalanda in India, in the Madhyadesha, the middle land. And on the left, we see what's probably the Bhikkhuni teacher, and on the right, a Bhikkhuni student who has one knee raised and one knee down with her hands in Anjali in the posture that I was describing, which is the Sri Lankan traditional posture for confession. But we see this from long ago, more than 1,000 or 1,500 years ago in India and Nalanda. And then this is the Burmese posture, which is a squatting posture with both hands raised up in Anjali. So before the Pātimokkha, each Bhikkhuni confesses to another Bhikkhuni all offenses that she remembers. So now we're in the Kandakas again, in the Chilavagga, and it says, and this is in Chilavagga 10, the Bhikkhuni Kandaka, at that time the Bhikkhunis did not make amends for their offenses. To make amends here is apatting patikaroti. They told the Buddha said, a Bhikkhuni should make amends for her offenses. Actually, in Pali, it says, na bhikkhave bhikkhuniya apatti na patikhatapa, which means a Bhikkhuni should not make amends for her offenses. If she doesn't, she commits an offense of wrongdoing. So there's then an additional dukkata if she does not confess properly, make amends for any offenses. So the Bhikkhunis didn't know how to make amends. They told the Buddha said, bhikkhus should tell achikitung, that is to instruct the bhikkhunis how to make amends for an offense. Then the bhikkhus thought, who should receive confession from the bhikkhunis? So to receive confession is āPATTI-PAT, should receive. They told the Buddha. Then the Buddha said that the monks, the bhikkhus, should receive the confession of offenses from the bhikkhunis. Anujanami bhikkhave, bhikkhuhi, bhikkhuniyang āpatti. So, which means that the Buddha has allowed or enjoined at that time the bhikkhus. We think this is probably early on in the Bhikkhuni Sangha. Soon afterwards, when bhikkhunis saw a bhikkhu on the street in a cul-de-sac or at an intersection, they would put down their alms bowl, put their upper robe over one shoulder, squat on their heels. This is the posture that we saw the Burmese monks in earlier. Ukutikang. If you can see this here with the cursor, they would squat on their heels, raise their joined palms, and then make amends for their offenses. But people seeing this complained and criticized them. They are their wives, they are their mistresses. Having offended them at night, they now ask for forgiveness. So they told the Buddha. Then the Buddha said, bhikkhus, you should not receive confession from the bhikkhunis. If you do, you, that is the bhikkhu, commits an offense of wrong conduct, a dukkata. So the bhikkhunis should receive the confession of offenses from the bhikkhunis. We see the development of the discipline over time here. Then the bhikkhunis didn't know how to receive confessions. They told the Buddha. Then the Buddha said, the bhikkhus should tell, this achikitung should instruct or should direct the bhikkhunis how to receive offenses. So bhikkhus can give this instruction even though they should not receive the offenses themselves or the confession themselves. So the procedure then for confessing light offenses, that is pacityas. And again, I want to know the confession formula may vary slightly from tradition to tradition, but what we're looking at here, what we have in Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha 4th edition is from Canonical Vinaya text from the Mahāvāga Khandaka. So we're going now into the Khandakas. And we're going to the second Khandaka, which is the Uposatha Khandaka, translated here as Sabbath. The Uposatha originally is actually every 7 days. Sabbath means the 7th day. So here, number 25, the process for making amends for an offense. āPATTI-PAT Vidhi or Kammavidhi is like the instructions or directions, and it gives you the proper text for how to do Sangha Kamma. And here, in this case, we have Patikkamma. So for the āPATTI, the offense, the Patikkamma is to turn it around. It's an act or an action that's to like change the course or reverse the course of that kamma, of the offense. Highlighted, the Buddha laid down a rule that one shouldn't do the observance day ceremony if one has an offense. Question, and I've committed an offense. What should I do? And this is a bhikkhu asking here. So here's the instruction for what to do, the Buddha's instruction. One should say, I've committed. He should approach, this is a bhikkhu, should approach another bhikkhu, or a bhikkhuni should approach another bhikkhuni. So he should approach another bhikkhu, put his upper robe over one shoulder. This does show that they would otherwise be wearing their robes over 2 shoulders if they were out and about. Squat on his heels, that is this ukutikang posture, but we recognize in the Thai, Lao, Cambodian traditions, maybe a variation, or Sri Lanka and India, maybe a variation on that posture. That's not wrong. Raise his joined palms in Anjali and say, quote, I've committed such and such an offense. I confess it. This is the bhikkhu speaking. Ahang auso itanamang. Itanamang is such and such a named offense. Apating apanotang patidesamiti. And the other should say, do you recognize the offense? Pasasi, do you see it, is what it means. And the first should say, yes, I recognize it. Ama pasami means, yes, I see it. And then the second bhikkhu should say, you should restrain yourself in the future. Ayating sangwariyasi. We're going to look now then at what does itanamang mean? Naming the offense. We say such and such an offense. This is back in our Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha 4th edition for the Bhikkhunis. Ahang aye itanamang. So we should fill in the blank. Apating apanang tang patidesami. Pasasi aye. Ama aye pasami. Ayating aye sangwariyasi. Sadhu sutu aye sangwarisami. So we need to insert the name and category of the offense here into the confession. So please note that the last letter of the rule name in Pali changes from an A to an E, from A to A, locative singular for the confession formula. This comes from the Kandikas, Chulavaga. So in example, itanamang, adding something in here, dantapone pachitiang. Dantapone this is the A sound at the end. If confessing pachitya 122, the pachitya concerning tooth sticks, putting something into one's mouth, taking something in one's mouth besides water or a toothbrush or toothpicks, originally tooth cleaning sticks, is pachitya. So how do we find the name? How do we know the name of the precept to be able to fill it in? We're in Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha 4th edition here, and we're looking at Pachitya section, the very beginning, the recitation on the section on confession. The first precept is the lasuna sikapadang. Lasuna is garlic. So we see here, sikapadang means the training precept or the base of training. And then the name comes before the word sikapadang in Pali. So would change it with A, would change it to lasune with a, rather than an A, an E. So the precept about garlic here, we're looking at it now in our Bhikkhuni Pātimokkha 4th edition. We can see very clearly how the names are placed just after the numbers before the text of the precept. So also we have examples of the formula for confessing more than one offense. So ahang aye buddhagame cha sanidhikarake cha pachityayo apatio apana ta patidesami. So we have here number 1, Buddhagama is the precept with regards to plant and seed life. And then Sanidhikaraka is the precept with regards to storing up food. So this is how these two offenses could be confessed together. Then Pachityayo is plural. Apatio is plural. Apana plural. Ta plural. Patidesami. So we can also see if maybe seed life was damaged twice. We have examples here for how we can say dwe 2 times buddhagame pachityayo apatio apanata patidesami, we could say. So again, I want to recognize that the confession formula may vary from tradition to tradition, And there are traditions in Theravada Buddhism now that are skipping this part of actually saying what's being confessed. So the offender doesn't say, and the one who is being confessed to doesn't hear what the offense is. The way that this is done is by saying, Sabba apatio arochemi, or Sabba apatio ta apatidesami, which means I confess all offenses without saying what they are. And the part about actually seeing and knowing what one has done and having that recognized by another member of the Sangha doesn't actually happen, although it's recited. Another method is these are called blanket confessions, means they're meant to cover everything without actually really acknowledging and recognizing them. Another method is saying like Tsapa tula chaya nisakiya pachitiya pachitiayo ta apatti-desana, like that, which just means for all these categories of offenses that can be confessed that I have offended, I just confess them all. But it's not naming anything or saying what's actually done, so there's no recognition. So this is an important point I'd like you to consider, because the next thing that comes up here is pasasiaye, which means, do you see, do you know, do you recognize this offense? And the reply, the scripted reply, the kammavidhi, the patti-kammavidhi that's here, ama aye pasami, yes, I see, I know it. And so both of those bhikkhunis, or both of those bhikkhus, seeing and knowing what the offense is essential part in the canonical method here. So just to highlight this for everyone. And now we come down to what if you're speaking to someone senior in Pali. And the polite way to speak to someone senior is, rather than to say pasasi, to say pasata aye. I'll just say for our Dhammadharini Bhikkhunis community, for this seeing and knowing to really be affected very clearly, then we'll say in English what precept or what offense, what's happened, and then we'll recite the Patti-kammavidhi, āPATTI-kammavidhi that we have here in Pali as well. So for shared or doubtful offenses, what to do? An offense cannot be confessed to a bhikkhuni who has the same offense. This is the same for bhikkhus as well. If a whole sangha has the same offense and a bhikkhuni without that offense is not available before the uposatha, the following announcement should be made so the Pātimokkha can be recited without obstacle. However, as soon as a bhikkhuni or a bhikkhu has an opportunity, she should confess to another bhikkhuni who does not have the same offense. This is from the Vinaya Mahavaga Khandaka. So, supposing one bhikkhuni ate outside of the proper time, a little bit late after solar noon, and then her bhikkhuni companion, they were together, they both ate late. Could they do that and then confess to one another and be able to properly affect the āPATTI-kammavidhi? No, they cannot. It's not possible. It doesn't work with this method. If two bhikkhus or two bhikkhunis do some offense together and then confess to one another, it doesn't work to clear that offense. You have to find someone, another bhikkhu or another bhikkhuni who did not do that. So how about if bhikkhuni went to a dana and then it ended a little bit late, and then another bhikkhuni went out on Pindapat and was eating outside under the tree and also finished late. Could one confess to the other effectively? The answer is yes, because they were not committing that same kamma together. Although it's the same name for the precept, it's not like they were doing that together. So they could confess to one another. The only case where you can't do that is if it's not another bhikkhuni, or if one committed the offense together, means the same time, the same place, those actions together. Okay, in case that happened, the following announcement should be made so the Pātimokkha can be recited without obstacle. Sunatu me aye sankho, ayang sabho sankho, sapaghang apating apano. So, yata anyang bhikkhuning sudhang anapatikang pasisati tada tasa santiketang apating patikari sati. So, Venerables, may the Sangha listen to me. This whole Sangha has fallen into a shared offense. When it sees another bhikkhuni, a pure one without offense, then it will make amends to her for that offense. So I just want to go back and recognize then that if this acknowledgement formally happens, even the whole Bhikkhuni Sangha they were at the dana and they accidentally came to be late with the meal, then they need to make this formal acknowledgement. If they don't have another bhikkhuni who is pure of this or free from this offense, they need to make this formal acknowledgement together before they can recite the Pātimokkha. And as soon as a bhikkhuni has an opportunity, she should be diligent to confess to another bhikkhuni who does not have the same offense. This is again from Mahāvāga Vinaya. Then this is how to acknowledge a doubt about an offense. If there's doubt in one's mind before the recitation of the Pātimokkha, then one can say ahang aye itanamaya and fill in the name of the precept there, āPATTIDESANA. Venerable, I have doubt about such and such name, precept, offense. When I come to be without doubt, then I'll make amends for that offense. And so this is a pledge. Having done that, if there's doubt, then it is possible to join in the Pātimokkha recitation. If a doubt comes to mind during the Pātimokkha recitation, this same formula should be spoken to the bhikkhuni next to her. Once said, the Pātimokkha can continue being recited without obstacle. This is from the Mahāvāga. We'll be seeing more about this later. So this is the recitation then of the introduction to the Pātimokkha. Venerables, let the Sangha listen to me. Today is the Uposatha day of the 15th or 14th day. If the proper time has come for the Sangha should carry out the Pātimokkha. What is the preliminary duty for the Sangha? Venerables, you should announce your purity. This needs to happen before the Pātimokkha recitation begins. This is part of the Uposatha Pātimokkha. So, King Sanghasa Pupakichang. Pupakichang is the preliminary duties, what should be done beforehand. Parisuddhing ayayo aro cheta, that is, your entire or complete purity should be announced. When the Pātimokkha is proclaimed up to the third time in such an assembly as this, should any bhikkhuni not reveal an offense that she remembers, this is a conscious lie for her. So conscious lie is sampajana musavada. Venerables, a conscious lie has been pronounced by the Blessed One to be an obstructing matter. That's an antarayika dhamma. Therefore, any offense which exists is to be revealed by a bhikkhuni, who having committed an offense remembers it and looks for purification. When revealed, it's good for her. So, yapana bhikkhuni yawatatiyang anusavyamane saramana santing apating navikareya sampajana musawatasa hoti. So this means then exactly as we read before, this is sampajana musawatha. Sampajana musawatho ko panayayo antaraiko dhammo. Antaraika dhammas, obstacles, vuto bhagava. This is what the Bhagava, the Buddha, has said. So then, recited venerables is the introduction. This is the text. Herein I ask the venerables, are you pure in this? So this is the threefold recitation that comes at the end of every section of the Pātimokkha. A second time I ask, are you pure in this? A third time I ask, are you pure in this? Then, this is important. If there's silence up to that point, then the reciter of the Pātimokkha recites, the venerables are pure in this, therefore they are silent. So I remember it. So this so I remember it is ewametang dharayamiti, is like to record it in oral traditions. Then this is like putting a stamp on it and orally recording it. That's the way the Sangha is to hold it. So Tatayayo puchami kachita parisutta, dutiyampi puchami kachita parisutta, tatiyampi puchami kachita parisutta. And so if there's anything to confess, to acknowledge, it should be acknowledged before this next line. Parisutta tayayo tasma tunhi ewametang dharayamiti. So if one remembers an offense during the recitation of the Pātimokkha, what should you do? This is canonical. She, the Bhikkhuni, should say to the Bhikkhuni next to her, Ahang aye, itanamang, and then fill in the name of the offense, apating apana, ito wuta hitwa tang apating patikari-sami, which means that then that Bhikkhuni next to her then hears that. She says, Venerable, I've fallen into put the name of the offense, having risen from here, which means just after the Pātimokkha recitation is finished. You're not supposed to get up during the recitation, but just after it's finished, then you go to confess right then and there when the recitation is finished. I will make amends for, which means I will confess that offense. When that is said, the Pātimokkha can continue being recited without obstacle. This is from the Mahāvāga. So then, when is this to be said? Should it be said immediately, just at the time of the precept? Generally, what we've learned is not, that it should be said at the end of the section before that threefold question. So here we're looking at the Pachityas, and we've highlighted the end of the section. So this is then the end of the Lasunavago. And then here's the end of another section, the end of the darkness chapter. So in some communities, just at that time might be the time to confess. Or in some community, it might be at this point, at the end of that chapter, but it should absolutely be before what's highlighted here. Here, and I ask the venerables, are you pure in this? A second time I ask, are you pure in this? For the third time I ask, are you pure in this? So even during that time, it can be mentioned, but it must be mentioned before this last line. Parisutta tayayo tasma tunhi ewametang dharayamiti. The venerables are pure in this, therefore they are silent. So I remember it must be before that line. Before parisutta tayayo tasma tunhi ewametang dharayamiti. Before that. So we've come to the end. There's so much more that could be said. But for this period of time now, for this class today, may this be enough So we've gone over the āPATTI-PAT, āPATTIDESANA, the teachings on caring for Vinaya transgressions in the canonical Pali-text of the Buddhist monastic discipline, including confession, acknowledgement, settlement, and restitution. So, Annamayang Sankhaso Panakatayo Panamasem. Now let us recite the verses on the beautifiers of the Sangha. Iko chasila sampano Bhikkhuni cha bahu sutaham upasako chayo sahato yacha satha upasikaham eteko sanghang sopenti etehi sankhasopananti sadhu sadhu sadhu. Oh, this is dedicated to the long endurance of the Buddhist teaching, the path of practice, and its most excellent fruits. May the radiant wishes of the teachers, students, and benefactors be fulfilled. Chirang titahu buddha sahasanang.